Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Just a quick overview of Qbox. Qbox allows you to share your QuickBooks desktop files. Now we're only sharing the data files, so if a remote user wants to open and view that file, they must also have the same year of QuickBooks that you're using. So in my case, I'm using QuickBooks Pro 2018, so any shared users would also have to have 2018 installed locally. Now the versioning is not too important. I have Pro. Anybody with 2018 can open it. So if you have Accountant on your end, or if you have Premiere, as long as that 2018 matches. Now the only exception to that rule is QuickBooks Enterprise. If you want to open an enterprise file, you must have an enterprise subscription. Now, looking at my desktop, I have a few Qbox specific icons. The first is our Qbox client icon, and this is actually the least significant, but this is used just to restart the program at all during the day. But in actuality, Qbox is what we call an auto start program. So every time you turn on your computer, having installed the program, it's going to automatically start up, and it just runs in the background. So it's there and ready to transmit any updates or changes you make, as well as receive any updates or changes your clients make. Now our two important icons are down here. One is pinned to our taskbar, and the other is down in our auto start programs. And by selecting either one of them, they're going to open up what we call our Qbox Explorer. Now our Qbox Explorer is just a shortcut window to all the folders and files I'm sharing with Qbox. My account is set up as if I were the bookkeeper or accountant. So each one of my clients has its own separate folder, and I do that on purpose. So sharing is done at the folder level, so I don't want my clients to see each other's QuickBooks files. So within each one of my folders is their specific QuickBooks file. So here I only have Golden State Communication or Golden State Construction, and so on and so forth. Now, if I was sharing internally, I could get away with one folder and just put all of my QuickBooks files into that one folder. So if you don't mind everybody seeing all the files, you can get away with one, but if you are sharing externally with your clients, we do recommend a separate folder for each. Now, if you look at my address bar, it shows you here, and this is where our Qbox folder is actually residing on your local PC. So for my account, my Qbox resides in my local My Documents. So if I were to go to the Windows side, I would have a Qbox folder, and if I would to keep drilling down, I would see these same folders and files. So I do want to emphasize that all shared users are always working off their own local PC. So you don't have to rely on somebody else's internet connection or have to worry about working off of a tiny screen. Everything's done right on your desktop level. When it's time to open and work on the file, all you have to do is just double click on the folder itself. And here I have my local QBW file. All I'm going to do is just double click. And it's like initializing any other locally hosted QuickBooks file. So it's going to open up the file itself as well as the appropriate year of QuickBooks if you have multiple years installed. Now Qbox is like a Dropbox. However, we go away with the conflicted copies issue by having a locking mechanism. So Qbox is a take turns process. Only one person can be in the file at a time making edits. And how we control that is by having a locking mechanism. So after this file loads, it asks me if I want to lock the file. So if you're going to do any work, you always say yes. If you just want to look around, you could say no. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I do want to lock it. And then it's going to give me confirmation that the file has been locked. Now it's a local copy of QuickBooks. I can do anything I normally do, edit the chart of accounts, adjust journal entries. When I'm done working and I want to sync all my changes up to the cloud's copy, I can either close the company file or I can close QuickBooks altogether. So let me show you one feature here. I now have the file open and locked. This is real-time information, so it will show my shared users that I have the file open and locked. That means to them that they need to wait their turn. Now they can still go in as a read-only, they can run reports, they can view transactions, they just can't make any edits until I've released that lock. So I'm done working. I'm just going to go ahead and close QuickBooks. And Qbox runs on a ping cycle, so keep your eye down here on this little green Q. In about 10 seconds, it's going to realize that that file has been closed, and it's going to automatically start the syncing process. It'll turn orange, telling me that the sync is started, as well as a pop-up's going to appear telling me that the sync is started. And what it's doing during the sync process is a quick comparison of my local copy, since I'm the one who had it open and locked, and the copy we keep in the cloud. And it's only syncing up those incremental changes up to the cloud's copy. Once it's there, it'll automatically start syncing down to all the shared users. Now, down at the bottom, you can follow along with how fast that file is going up to the cloud. So for my small file, it's fairly quick. The upload and download speed depend on two things. One, it's the speed of your internet, and two, it's the size of your file. So that is how you open and lock a file. Now, like I said, maybe your client's computer's turned off when you do a sync. What happens then? So Qbox, like I said at the beginning, is an auto start program. So when they turn on Qbox, Qbox is going to auto start, and it pings the cloud to see if there's any changes. If there are, Qbox will automatically start downloading that latest file over to their computer so that everybody's always on the same version. So their computer can be completely shut off. It's not like go to my PC where their computer has to be on and running at all times. So let's show you one more feature in our Qbox Explorer. So here I've created a folder. Once you create a folder, somebody has to put that file into the folder for the first time. Now that process can be done in one of a few different ways. First, if your client sent you a backup, you can restore the backup directly into this directory. So when you restore the backup, it asks you where you want to put it. You would just follow this path here and put it into your citywide bakery. Next, we have our own functionality. So you can go to File, Copy QuickBooks File. This will do a search of all the QuickBooks files on your computer. You tell us which one you want to move over, and then we automatically move it over for you. Or if you know where your file resides on the Windows side, you can just right-click, copy, go into the sync folder itself, right-click, and paste. Now you'll notice that that file is locked by me, and it will remain locked until it's completely synced up to the cloud. And there it goes. So while that's syncing up, I'm going to go ahead and show you another feature in our Qbox Explorer. So for at least one of my clients, I have created subfolders. Now, subfolders don't cost you anything, but it's a nice way to create some additional organization. Because in addition to QuickBooks files, we also allow you to share Microsoft Office. So if you wanted to share a PowerPoint, Word document, Excel files, if you have multiple QuickBooks files, you can put multiple QuickBooks files into a folder, as well as PDF or JPEG. So a tax return or a bank statement, anything you normally share via an email attachment can be thrown right into your Qbox Explorer. Each folder has 10 gigabytes of data, so you can share as many folders and files as you need or want to up to that 10 gigabyte limit. So that's the majority of our Qbox Explorer, and it's about 99% of your interaction with Qbox. But when you do sign up for an account, you do so online, and that provides you with a login. And this is what we call our web dashboard, and it's essentially where you administer your account. So the first thing you notice is that you see the same folders that you saw on my desktop level. Now to the right, the account owner will have a green share icon. So if you click this green share icon, it's going to show you who you're actively sharing the folder with. If you wanted to delete a user, you would just click this delete. If you wanted to add an additional user, you would go ahead and enter in their email address here. Now we have three user roles. The first is a read-only, which means that they will never acquire the lock, meaning that any change they make, they'll never be synced up to the cloud's copy. Next, we have an admin role, which allows users to delete subfolders, create subfolders, and delete files. So because there's a capability of deleting files, we just want you to be wary of that admin or assigning anybody an admin role. Now we have a regular shared user, which can lock the file, make changes, but they cannot delete the main folder or file. And to assign that as a regular user, you would just leave these two options blank. When it's time to add a new client, all you have to do is hit New Folder here. Here you can type in the company name, and then here we give you two options for shared email addresses. Now you don't have to fill out two. If you have more than two, no problem. You would just create the folder, and then you can add 3 at a time. Shared users are completely free, so you can share as many people as you need or want to. The only requirement is that if you are sharing a QuickBooks file, they must have QuickBooks installed locally to be able to open that file. So again, we're not sharing that QuickBooks license. We do keep a copy of the file in the cloud, and it does provide you with some additional benefits. The first would be if anything ever happened to your computer, or maybe you get a new computer, all you have to do is log into your web dashboard, click this admin button, and then to the left we have this download Qbox client. Now by selecting it, it's not only going to put the software back onto your computer, but it's also going to download any latest versions of the folders and files you have in your account. So maybe your computer goes down for a week, it's in the shop, but in the meantime your employees are still working on the file. So when you get your computer back, you just have to download Qbox and everything will sync down to you, so you don't have to worry about thumb driving anything over. In addition to that, every time you lock and sync a file, it creates a new version in the cloud. We keep the last 20 previous versions, and at any time you can roll back to one of those 20. So all you're going to do is click on Folders and Files, go into the folder itself, and then here we have this blue history icon. And if you select it, it's going to show you the last 20 previous versions, and you can roll back to any one of these 20. So maybe the last time I knew my file was okay was last Friday. I would select it, hit roll back. It's going to ask me, am I sure I want to roll back? Just because anything from this point on is going to be erased. But I do want to roll back. And it's going to automatically start rolling back to me, as well as all of my shared users. Now, the last previous 20 versions depends on how often you sync. So for me, I'm only in this demo account every Friday, but for most users, they're locking and syncing every day. So for the last 20 versions, it could be 2 weeks worth, or it can be a week's worth. So it just depends on how often you sync that file. So we're going to go ahead and end on the pricing page. Now our pricing is very straightforward. It's based on the number of sync folders. So each one of my sync folder, let me go back here, each one of my sync folder, it's its own separate charge. Each folder is $12 a month or $120 a year. You're able to share files and collaborate in real time, meaning only one person can be working in the file at a time. You're able to have unlimited amount of shared users, so you can share that folder with as many people as you need or want to, and that folder price remains the same. We have a team member function, which is essentially for our bigger CPA and bookkeeper clients. Team members are invited to all of your sync folders. So if I had a team member, I could invite them to all of my folders with just one click. Now, the only caveat to team members is that all team members have to be on the same private email domain as the account owner. So I am the account owner, and my email domain is at coraltreetech.com. So all of my team members must also be at coraltreetech.com. Now, if they don't have a private email domain, no problem. You can invite anybody to any one of those shared folders using a Gmail or a Yahoo. You would just have to individually add them as a shared user using the green icon I showed you earlier. We have a Qbox MU folder, which allows users to work in multi-user. We have two requirements to set that up. The first is that all users have to be in the same local area network, meaning the same office. And the second is that all users have to be on the same private email domain. And we require either a peer-to-peer network or a server, so that has to be created. And what we do is, instead of having Qbox local to their PC, like it is just in my documents, we point their Qbox to the same instance of the file on their peer-to-peer network or their server. Now, those employees that are in the office can continue to work in multi-user. So the first person locks it, the rest of the multi-users can jump in and out of the file throughout the day, and then the last person in the file will need to sync it. Now, remote users would still need to wait their turn. So there's no way a remote user can work at the same time as the office. So if the office has it locked, the remote user would still need to wait their turn. Each folder has 10 gigabytes of capacity, so you can share as many folders and files and documents as you need or want to, up to that 10 gigabyte limit. We have a separate completely optional attachments folder. Now, if you're in QuickBooks and you have an invoice and you attach a receipt to it, that's what we consider an attachment. So that attachment will always be local to the user who created it. However, if you want that attachment to be shared with all the other users, then you must purchase a separate attachment folder for $12 a month or $120 a year. All new users get their first 30 days free, so you can try it out without having to pay anything. We don't ask you for any credit card obligation sign up. In fact, I don't think you hear anything about billing until day 25 or so, and at that point we just tell you have a bill coming up. Our support hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday. After hours is email support only. I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick around. If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them into the Q&A section or the chat section, and I'll be sure to answer them for the group. But before, if you do want to leave, I do want to thank you for your interest in Qbox. And if you have any questions after the fact, go ahead and send us a chat or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you get set up or even answer any additional questions that you have.